Yeah, great positioning there as well on the landing. It's just going to be about being able to get together. You can see Karma found a bit of difficulty on his way there. You can see as well a lot of these teams looking to try to do plenty of the same thing, right? Cutting off teams in the front side of the zone, looking to try get that positioning, get that priority. And you can see so many builds coming through. Like you said, Reese, these guys have nothing to worry about when it comes to Storm Surge. They're plenty ahead, but any sort of elimination will do well for them, right? Trying to refresh those materials, get as much as possible. You can see here for Strokey looking down below him, and he's actually going to be able to find something as well. He connects with that. And will they be able to retrieve the knock body? It will be a bit more difficult than actually getting the elimination itself, but this consistent pressure being applied is just exactly what you expect from Strokey, duo, solo, or in a trio.
And he does indeed manage to get those materials, but unfortunately it is not much. It's close to Siphon, but it will keep them going anyway. So they're going to go back to their old builds, chop all the way down, fully trying to claim low ground now ahead of zone. Super good. You can tell they're a veteran performed team in comparison to even the rest of the lobby, just in the way that they've claimed that fully as a duo. But you see Verox all the way down. Up on high ground, we still has Tazian's team, who we've seen consistently throughout this game. Down up on that high still, there he is. Back up with them. Yusuf, Claire, and Tazian. 7 eliminations to their name, tons of materials left, an extremely high layer on high ground. They seem to have this one in the bag right now.
And you can see Yusuf's team's investments have paid off. They position themselves for high ground in first moving, and look at where they are now, sitting high and above everybody else. They have control over this lobby at the moment. For Strokey, really needs to be careful as he's gliding in the sky, but he hits a crucial shot there, and that's going to buy him some time, some extra materials as well. He's not really far away from his teammate Karma. They will be able to get to each other now, and so this is an opportunity for them, even as a duo, to really stake their claim on this lobby now, Reese.
It is 6 eliminations on him, 2 on Karma, 1 on the down void, 9 eliminations total. We know that's so many points already. 82 to their name, and a big pump shot comes out of the player onto the back storm. They're just adding up, racking up point after point after point. Now 7 eliminations, 10 across the entire team. We know that's 60 points. Now what's really going to be crucial is can they consistently do these eliminations, but at the same time be able to pick up the refreshes from it and keep themselves moving. There's some mats here, but no, Strokey does not want to go for it. He's trying to play super safe, as he knows there's a team underneath that. The pressure, the spray comes out from behind. He's going to tank a little bit of zone just to make sure he gets those extra bits of angles. But Karma has pushed all the way ahead just so he can claim the space as much as possible.
My goodness, the hunger and instinct this guy when it comes to looking for eliminations is just unreal. You can see he can sense players on his lobbies. He has his eye for it, and he will hit the shot to back it up as well. That's going to be his 8th. Nonetheless, he's carrying everything on his back right now, but he's not done there. He drops down low, and he realizes now that in order to close this game out, in order to win this one with just 2 other teams remaining in the lobby, he needs to look up at height. He knows that's where his competition is, and he can hear Yusuf building above him. It's not going to be an easy task, but the most difficult part is already out the way. Another elimination for Strokey, and now coming down to the 2v2, they really do have to hope this doesn't go all the way up the hill, which it looks like it's doing. They're going to have to climb now, and they don't have the advantage in that regard with only 17 builds or so left. Can they actually pad up? It looks like they'll go for it. It's not going to be easy, Reese. The time is ticking down, but they have the chunk splashes in position as well. Another pad being used. He's such low HP though, Reese. I don't see how he could possibly even survive. They need to look up, and if they do, they will see his loot falling, because Strokey will eventually go down. Only we could see into the future. Nevertheless, though, things have started to calm down just that bit for them. You can see Sean VP and his friends on high ground, and something very similar to what we saw them do in the Cash Cup just this week. So clearly still on form right now, still feeling it. We'll be able to see if they can actually close it out now. First moving is going to be a pivotal zone for whether they're able to do that or not. We saw last game Tazian's True did a brilliant job of holding it from this point onwards, but they've got some tough competition. The likes of Kiko, Mongrel, Slender, of course, Tayson, Veno, and Reason. I'm sure Noah Fraley will even try to look to get involved. Nevertheless, Kiko and Mongrel, they're going to look to maybe play a bit lower down from high ground. Slender leading the charge as the top part.
200 below the Storm Surge damage, so that's a an uncharacteristic trait if I've ever seen one. So they're going to have 30 seconds to start getting these tags and start climbing themselves up the leaderboard of Storm Surge as it is. So now you're going to hopefully not see any desperation plays. We're hopefully going to see some calculated plays coming out as there we go. Cheek is picked up at the front of zone. Big beams from Mongrel. Hopefully if they manage to get max damage on the finish, he will. But he also managed to pick up another player, but is picked up at the back of the Storm. So they get above the threshold. But unfortunately, Mongrel just overcommits, gets a little bit too nervous for the Storm Surge.
That was the one biggest fear they would have had, right? Of course, they knew they were desperate for Surge, but to actually lose a team member as a result of it isn't going to be great whatsoever. Kiko and Slender, though, are going to be left alone to fend for themselves. We saw a duo do so well last game, and so nothing is out of the realms of possibility, and nothing's out of the realms of possibility for this trio as well. You can see the drop-down techniques coming through, the eye drop classic. Unfortunately, no harpoon in use, and no elimination for them either. Nevertheless, so they stay ahead of the zone and they're going to continue to look for eliminations. They're plenty above, but they do want those limb points. They do want some more materials. You can see Plenolti low trying to claim as much as possible. So many players going down at the moment right now, Reese. And I know height has definitely been usurped a couple of times as well. So it'll be interesting to see who the key player is at this stage. Rotary's trio are going to be the ones to watch out for as everybody below is forced to cross this piece of water. A hectic game at the least.
And no, this is going to be tough for the low ground teams because they usually get pressured so much from underneath from all of the players who are just swimming just fully. So I expect Reese's team has to be very, very careful now, but actually pulls back almost onto the land. Yes, they've made it all the way back to the land. They have all that brick there they can continue to harvest, which has kept them going so far, but they're going to have to start looking out, and that's Chashi up above from the Cash Cup winning team. But no, they're going to play it slower. They're not going to go for that. They're not going to fully commit until they 100% need it. As they're trying to spray down, that's actually Kiko up above. They're trying to get him inside of the box. Yeah, again, he's still belittling, pressuring the floor. It's Slender and Kiko up above, but no, they've yet to manage to drop him down into the box.
Yeah, they don't want to see them winning. And you can see Reason had the tunnel vision on that team, but focus is quickly re-adjourned, and Kiko will actually be taken out by Vino as well. And Slender will now go down at the hands of Reason. Two brilliant finds for them, and exactly what they needed at this stage in the game. With many of the trios now going down, they're quickly making their climb all the way on up. But how far will that climb reach? Are they going to look to try and take height away from Rotary and his compadres? Nevertheless, you can see so much chaos still going down. Reason picks up another knock, and the elimination as well will be found. And yep, you can see the climb coming through. They are looking to get up, but it's not going to be easy for them whatsoever. Quickly stopped in their tracks, Reese. But once again, it looks like the climb will continue. Rotary gets taken now. The shot coming through from Reason. We've seen him do that countless times in these endgame stages. And now height is theirs for the taking. This is their opportunity now to get that victory royale.
That was the clinical plays. They actually managed to pick up 2 eliminations on the players up on height. So Rotary was the only player left remaining. I think no, it's Vizu who's the only player left remaining in that full trio. So height completely disrupted Vino's team. Full claimed on it now, and they have still minimal mats, but at this point in the final zone, 20 seconds left, the materials are the last thing on their mind. They're going to start claiming up ahead, trying to ensure the pressure down below. And yes, that's another elimination there coming on to Luke at the same time. And on low ground, we still have Ziandi alongside Chashi as well, our current Cash Cup winner. So there's a duo down on low ground. Visu still alive as a solo who's managed to go down. He actually picks up Chashi at the same time as well. He's now the only one still left in the storm. He picks up the finish onto Vino too, gets the chug cannon, goes for the heal up, finds the biggest tag, and he actually gets the victory royale instead of Tayson's team.
As well as, I believe Mongrel was in this one as well. I think I saw him pick up an elimination. Mongrel, Kiko, Slender, those guys are in this one. So there's a lot of similar teams to the game we just saw, and all be looking to try and right their wrongs of the last game. Lukey actually will pick up a knock, I believe, and he's playing as a solo right now with Finex, and so, with Finex. And so any sort of a limb will be good for them. Every little helps. Veno, Reason, Tayson, once again in a very good position, looking to try and better their second place placement from last game.
Yeah, and look, they're on 333 points. We know they're currently first. Maybe another team is close or overtaken in another match that we've seen, Ziandi, no, that's one of the storylines definitely hindered there from our guys who were looking for the back-to-back, unfortunately. But There's still a remainder of the teams left up at the same time, but they've had a nightmare launch pad, it would seem. See Vino, Reese, and Tayson now still up in the sky, trying to find the best place to land. You see Sean VP has not claimed the high ground there, so they're going to try and land as far ahead as possible and claim it for themselves. And yes, they are up. They are up on the high ground claim, but there's so many people padding, so many people in the air that they've got to be careful. Paddy, the final one, doing so, but no one has chosen to contest them.
They managed to scare everybody off, it seems, right? You saw so many players gliding in the air, all looking at the potential to find maybe a height take, but none of them vying to do it. I'm sure that won't be the last, though, of players looking at high ground, but with Vino, Reason, and Tayson all the way up here, it's not going to be an easy feat for you nonetheless. These guys are way and above Surge, and so it's now going to just be time for them to rain down on the teams below, looking to pressure that team second height. That is Genty's team, right? We talked about them a bit earlier, Reese. They're looking to try and prove you right. Nonetheless, it's going to be difficult with Tayson on height. The short pad coming through. Vino can't keep up with the aim, but can he? He actually does pick up an elimination. That will be his third. These guys now are just looking to clean out the lobby, Reese.
They are indeed, and they're in the best position to do it. 2,000 damage above the threshold, 7 eliminations to their name. High ground claim, make that 8 as another knock comes through, and the bandy cannon potentially, but Vino actually decides not to pick it up because he has the 3 floppers instead, so they're going to lose out a little bit on the heal potential in the end game, but they're in such a good spot that I'm not sure if they're even going to need it. They notice the wood builds down below, so they're going to start pressuring the teams that they understand are weak as well, and Vino just doing a great job getting ahead as far as he possibly can and getting those angles. We see Mongrel's team with Slender still up in the low ground as well. So many teams still in this, like Stir6, Paddy's team still down below, all of them being pressured and pushed down by Vino on height.
And this is just so brilliant for him, right? This is where Vino is in his element. The freedom to roam and look for unsuspecting players below. That ability to just drop down and pick up eliminations and really take the box fighting mechanics and put them into use. Reason does it so well as well. But you can see just a relentless pressure. Reason now getting that opportunity. He hits a shot and he'll look to claim the builds, looking to claim ahead as well to find any sort of an inch and an advantage. And he will find it. Picks up another elimination for the tally. Tayson, one of the best players in the world, is just able to watch down as his teammates do all the dirty work for him. Vino and Reason both with 4 eliminations each. Slender's still kicking it down below. He's trying to pick up some eliminations for his team, but he will finally go down. And just a relentless pressure being applied by this team on height. It's just making it so uncomfortable for anybody below. The wood builds are a clear sign of weakness, and they're looking to abuse it. Vettel, Stir6, Crizzy, they can't do much about it. They're just going to be forced to drop down.
And they're already preparing to win as well. They've got the heal off played so well up on high ground, and now they're sending the 2 dogs down. Vino and Reason are going to apply that consistent pressure, like you mentioned, noticing the weakness in those wood builds. And that's a finish down onto Crizzy below. Stir6, his teammates still in the running for this as well, and this looks like an unstoppable team as we see so many players back in the storm. Paddy's goes down. Remp is still down in the best spot, but Scree now looks like a solo on low ground with 200 HP opponents all running up, and Vino gets in the box, and that's the big finish. All the way down to this kind of southwest side. They're going to try and pull it up, but no, they're going for a triple spray and actually picked up Viper at this moment as well. So that's an easy triple spray for them. Toby and Esitam are going to struggle here to be able to try and heal and get that revive off, but I highly doubt it at the same moment as they pulled zone. But back up the height, we see Exteriors. This team has noticed that they pulls max, so they're hitting the launch pad and they are trying to claim it.
Yeah, they're going to be looking to try and regain high ground. Unfortunately, it was taken away from them by the Fortnite Lords themselves. Waze, though, now looking to force the issue into Ardy's box and try and force those guys off this layer. They want it for themselves, as well as wanting to try and deal with their Storm Surge issues of 145 below. It's nothing to mess around with, and so now it's going to be about trying to close that gap, right? Finding an opportunity where they can get an elim, and I'm sure Waze will be looking to do so with just the 1 elimination to his team's name now. He will be putting that pressure on himself to find something.
But the real pressure's on because they're below the Storm Surge threshold at the same time, and they don't seem to be too worried about it, even though there's 42 players. 9 still need to go down, so the pressure truly is on for them as they're going to start getting tagged from it. Still on high ground, Mappy, Exteriors, and Red Rush, who have the dominant position over the entire lobby here, but Waze's team has managed to get above as they go for the pre-edit play, pick up Sihi's team, who we saw pop off earlier too, which is going to give them that refresh, the Storm Surge that they needed as well, and they have no concerns at this moment. Nearly capped materials onto Waze at this point. He is going to be able to tarp them in, but because of this elimination, he's stuck a bit bit further at the back of the zone, so he may be getting held.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do a lot to try clear this layer out for themselves. And they've elevated as well, which makes it that just a bit easier. Toby is in front of them, and they might have to deal with him and his trio though. And they've spotted it, they realize it. They're not able to find anything, and so it's just gonna be about moving on to a different path, trying to get around the front side of the zone without interfering with that team and giving themselves an angle to try and deal with them as well. You can see so many players going down in that feed, so many players struggling to make this rotation now.
It's Wadsey who's down in the feed, like you mentioned. Mappy popping off on the high ground, but Rata's actually been lost on Waze's team here, so now he's left as a solo. They were in such a good position after that refresh, but it seems to have all gone upside down for them instead. And who hasn't gone up for down for is Red Rush's team, still up on high, still claim that, but Waze as a solo is trying to do what he can, picking up eliminations onto Toby. Two more players in the back of zone, that's raised, completely picked up. Roban now underneath him as well. Could he make it to three-piece? No, just the two. He's going back into the storm. He has the chug cannon, so he can take the ticks as much as he can. This could be a huge clutch pop-up for him as a solo.
And Waze with an absolute masterclass right there, right? Two players in the backside of the zone absolutely getting worked. And he's going to look to try repeat it. He has that player in his mind. Wasn't able to connect to the shot. He has the zone on his side, though, and the chug cannon as well to recoup some health. With just a few amount of builds left, he's really going to be forced to try and create something here. And he's done a great job because he picks up another elimination. He won't be able to reap the benefit of it, but nonetheless, those are some extra points for him as well. And you can see Exterior's Mappy. Now they have an even tougher task. Exterior's just left alone on the height. He finally goes down. Trizox will take Trixie down as well on the lower ground. And this team is looking in a much stronger position than what they once were.
10 eliminations, a huge amount of points. The gold pump, along with Trizox's ability to play heal off here, they almost definitely have the win conditions secured. All they need to do is actually execute this on the teams up and below. Serenexo claiming the low ground as much as he possibly can in a good fashion as he starts to pressure from up above. There's a team in the mid ground that they need to look up to and pressure so that they get pinched to pick up easy eliminations.
Yeah, and that team does drop down and they will find it. They spot it out. Trizox with another elimination, making it 11. And now with just the two teams left, the 3v3, it's going to be key for one of these teams to now try and take that advantage. Zynox will go down. The heal off play is coming through, but both teams looking to heal off. They realize now that it's not going to be enough. So Renexo goes down. Trizox will follow. And so it's going to be an So you got to make this count.
I'm not gonna lie, I would like to see Forces on the bottom just actually take these rusty cans into endgame. I don't think I've ever seen that before. He's obviously fishing to try and get as much ammo as he can and just hope that he pulls something good out. But you know what? Once you're in moving zones, just take the rusty cans. Just go for the play. Just for me. It's not a good play, but I want to see it, more importantly.
Not a good play, but just do it for me. Fair enough. Words of wisdom. Number one analyst in the world. Reisshub here, baby.
You don't want to listen to my advice, trust me.
Let's look. I'm sure a lot of people in this lobby right now would yearn for your advice, Reese, as they look to try and get through first moving here. A very hectic one up through Dirty Docks. And Force and Siberia now realizing that the time has come for them to move on along. Force won't have more time to fish. Whatever he was able to acquire is what he's going to have for the rest of it. Cubex now looking to make the lives of players like Force difficult as he looks back in the zone, trying to pick off any unsuspecting players. And they will lead the way for him and give him that room to be able to work with. He has that eager eye, Reese, but will he be able to connect with anything significant?
Hope he will. 4 eliminations so far to them as a Siberia and Force are actually now in the back of their tarp. This is a 2v2 situation because we know both of these are alive as a duo. As another player, Bruce, enters the field, and no, he's picked up. Kubex gets the easy elimination onto him at the back of the storm there, as now he's clutching up with Dan Deere, who's created a fantastic tarp for him, and he's blocking his back because he knows Force's team is potentially slipping around back there and they don't want to do anything. But the Spanish trio of Crow, Diox on high ground right now, but they're getting contested by Malabuka's team, who's now launch padding ahead of Storm, who's potentially going to build up, but no, they're not going to go for the high ground retake yet, but they are just claiming ahead and looking up at every opportunity they can.
Yeah, and this is now an almost inclimbable mountain for Siberia, quite literally at this stage, with not many materials left and Force being taken out. He's really going to have to find a wonder shot with this green pump in hand, and he spots Cubex, and his Cubex going to be aware of it. He is, and so now even more difficult for him. Players on his level are aware of his presence, and he's taking damage from all angles, running into trouble, and will go down. Siberia did his best, but his best just wasn't enough at this stage. And you can see so many of these teams trying to claim towards frontside. You can see Jaggy getting into a bit of a battle there, while they all watch by that high ground team. Cubex did a brilliant job once again there to find that elimination.
They've been playing this whole end game as a duo, and that's another one onto Adams as well. So that's now 5 eliminations, I think, for him as a solo, which is impressive as he could. The high ground trio still situated so well there. Malabuka's team still really good position as well, as Kubex now tries to claim the front of his zone, moving on all the way out and shooting back onto Jaggy, but that's a full trio and they get pressure from high ground. He has no materials, so he drops down behind Turkey's team, hits the big beam onto him in the background, and he's trying to get into the box, trying to psycho in, and that's the first elimination onto Turks as well, and his teammate is still remaining in the game. 10 eliminations for this team as a duo, and they're still trying to slither the way around the back as Dandir gets picked up too, but Kubex now still as a solo goes back and finds that second chug cannon that's back here, and he's going to try and extend his life as long as he possibly can with both of them.
He's done a great job thus far, but he eventually gets taken out. It looks like Ardy was the one who put in those final shots. Yes, it was. And so Tenzin, Jaggy, and Trixie will look up at height at the Spaniards, looking to try and see if they can steal this one away. They've been brilliant thus far. They have the 8 eliminations, and you can see Tenzin just realizing at this stage that in a 3v3, they do need to try and knock them down from their high ground position. And look, the Spaniards will now drop down, and at this stage, it will just come down to who can hit the key final shots. Both teams lacking the materials, it seems, and Crow is really low on mats, none to his name, in fact, and he's lost a teammate now. Diox will go down. He needs to try and find a shot onto Trixie, who's looking to go up. Trixie now goes up unscathed, and so now, with Crow just left alone, he won't be able to find any sort of an inch of space. Tenzin, they are way ahead of that second place number, but they do want to create an even bigger gap, because like I said, with Benji's team on their tail now hitting 600 points, these guys won't want to lay it up easily. Andalex is completely taken out, but Forziar and Exqueeze will live to tell the story. 666 points and more counting as they look to try and make their way through this first moving zone. Benji Fishy at 604, and they're looking up for a height. I'm sure Shadow and Joe will be looking attentively to see if there's an opportunity to take it. But with that being said, they will just look to go for a mid-ground layup. Benji leading the way. He's got to be careful he doesn't fall into somebody else's box, and it looks for a second like he did do that, in fact. Able to get out of that trouble though. But he needs to regroup with his teammates. He needs Joe and Shadow by his side if they want any hope of eclipsing the tally that the Frenchmen have set.
Do indeed, and Frenchmen are still up in the game, as long as so is Benji Fish still alive as a full trio. Now they're putting the pressure onto Putrik and pick up Putrik as well, so that's a big elimination point. But another player comes into the box, but he tags Benji back at the same time. But I think that's Chico is picked up in the end game as they're going to pick up those heals. So that's 2 really crucial eliminations for the board, as we hopefully still see that the remaining teams are still in their contention. I didn't actually manage to see 4ZR still in it, but 2 Stormy Ray and Kiriachi are.
Yeah, these guys now, they've got an even bigger task, right? If anything, these guys are fighting more so for third place if they can. They need to get above that 600 point mark and really start trying to catch up to Benji, which will be a hard task since Benji is still up and healthy. Toos now being forced down a layer back into the arms of his teammates for protection. And you can see there on high ground, it was Vizu's team. We saw what they did on high ground last time. Rotary, now he's got to be careful with Toos lining him up in his sight lines, and Rotary actually will go down at the hands of Toos. And so all of a sudden, these guys realize that height is on the cards. Maybe this is something that they can take advantage of, but they've got to deal with Joe, Shadow, Benji Fishy looking to maybe make his way up as well. Squeeze is all alone down below. The medkit play looking to be his first option. He needs to be careful though, because at 670 points, his second place spot is not guaranteed. So he needs to just hold on for as long as he can.
You know, and you said that right, that second spot is not guaranteed, but he's got so many materials now to be left alive as a solo. He can definitely crutch this back up to a top 10 if he gets himself into a good position, plays that med kit as slowly and as possibly as he can. But you can see the players on his lair are starting to get closer, and if they see these weak brick builds around him, they may start to go. He should take a single tick to storm here. Yes, so he's going to take this tick of storm so he can play yet again another med kit from the back of the zone. This goes into the 9th zone with 27 players still remaining in the final moving. This is where we're going to see the numbers drop drastically. In your bottom right, you still have X Squeeze now playing the zone at the back, and he seems to potentially miscalculate, but he comes up behind the players. He whiffs the shot and doesn't actually manage to get anything out of it, and he's down to 10 HP. He's fully boxed up. The pressure starts to come in for the team, but no, X Squeeze out on 672 points.
And that's going to be the point to try and beat for the remaining trios below him. 672 is what they will try and reach. Stormy right all alone has a mountain to climb if he wants to get anywhere near that tally. He does hit a pump shot there, but it wasn't enough for an elimination. And he's got to be careful. None of these builds are his. He walks into a tree. He actually is able to get one. Monkey goes down. He gets the siphon from it as well. And he's going to be looking for more now. And the opportunity is definitely there, but he will go down at the hands of Mosh. And you can see up above, Joe Shadow and Benji aren't having an easier time. Joe's left all alone. He picks up an elimination though, to be fair. He is on 646 and he is now trying to survive when it looks like all the odds are against him. He doesn't have much HP, but he does have a mini, and that mini will take him up to 25 shield, which could be enough in a fight. No, he will go down as well, and so he wasn't able to get his team up to second place. Nonetheless, all these trios now fighting for some sort of fame, some sort of admiration, as they all look to be the winner of this final game of the Cash Cup Extra.
And Harren drops down onto low ground. He goes down into the zone as well. There's only a few players left remaining, but the heal off
has come out top. We obviously know the result already, but by how much? We can see here an almighty 846 points, only 9 points off the record set previously with 91 eliminations, 300 placement points.